cigarette butts all over, on sidewalks, and of course, garbage cans everywhere. And when I see it is not Belmar what it used to be. Who I'm talking about, Taylor's mayor, Pianos, mayor, Maria Hernandez, mayor, and then Kenny, and now you. It is because Kenny made it no smoking, okay? So people, they smoke, they throw everywhere. Cigarette. These people, they talk and they don't done nothing for. It is, the town is more. Dory, now take a look, for almost a year. Now 1006 building, dumpsters, trucks, garbage, everything goes. Nobody sees that. Nobody makes sure that this is where the business suffers. Where all this person could already take all the parking areas for almost a year. And now he goes to the back and make it a 1004 building like a swimming pool. And nobody says nothing. Please, see the facts and don't listen to the lies, what they say. The fact is that Belmar was good business. It was Belmar Fashion Corner, excellent. We was there, excellent. Anybody else was there, excellent. But time comes and goes. You see, we left, somebody else got there. Somebody else left, somebody else got there. That's how way business goes. We get old, or we just don't want no more. So don't pass that, whatever you call it, I don't know how to say it.
I'm going to make a motion to close the public portion.
Second. Aye.
All right, council members.
I'll go first.
Well, I guess we have to have someone make a motion to introduce it.
So moved. Second?
Second.
We're voting to approve. So if you'd like to make comments before you vote, now will be the time, and after you're done with comment.
Yes, I go ahead and so we've heard a lot of conversation this evening regarding the SID, and it seems to be a divisive issue in our community, which is unfortunate. However, someone said they didn't know what the goal of the SID was. It's kind of obvious, isn't it, to improve the business district in Belmar. I think that's couldn't be plainer. I've seen improvements. I read everything that was sent to me regarding the Belmar Business Partnership. I like what I see. I know that it's a financial issue for many people, but I would like to see the work of this particular organization or / agency continue for another year. I do agree that this organization is very open. If you haven't received information and you know about it and you know the people involved in it, approach them and say, I don't care for this, maybe we can do it this way. So I don't see them as not approachable, which I think is a false perception. I'm going to support it because I see many positives here. We need something to infuse life into our community. I hope that we can come together. I hope that the Chamber of Commerce can work hand in hand with the Belmar Business Partnership. I think they're approachable for many ideas. I see also, I base my vote on that it has been very successful in other towns, in the area and in Freehold and locally, obviously, in Spring Lake. So I would like to see it have another year. I think it's a total picture. I think it's not just about one business or two businesses. I think what I see and what I think is trying to be created in terms of environment is a warm, inviting environment And I see that slowly happening. I haven't not kept abreast of this. I understand fully. Excuse me? Okay. I'm going to, and I support Pat Tex's idea that get involved. If you're not happy with things, get involved. Don't sit back and say, we shouldn't have this. Maybe your input would help. Okay, so I'm going to vote yes on this. I'm going to continue to support it.
Councilman McGovern?
Last couple of years, the economy in Belmar has been improving, in large part, and we'll take credit for it, due to the hard work of the mayor and council here. We have finished the streetscape from 16th Avenue to 10th Avenue. We repaved 10th Avenue from the railroad to Main Street, repaved the Acme parking lot. We just paved Main Street. We repaved out here. There was no tax increase in the last 3 years. The mayor and council is the biggest, owes the biggest credit for improving this town of Belmar. Philosophically, I'm kind of against taking my hard-earned money and giving it to my neighbor. You know, I think a good businessman is going to reinvest his hard-earned money giving it to someone else. And I heard that small budget. To me, $100,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you know, I will say that the Sid and the people running it got a lot of respect for you. You're doing a much better job. You brought your budget down. You've changed some things around. But I'm going to go against it again this year.
Couple things. I don't think that there's some buildings on my street, 16th Ave, 4 houses down, have been abandoned for a while. I don't think it's right that they should be able to come and take all the money from every house on my block so they can fix up that one house. So I don't believe prosperity comes out of taxation. And actually, I talked to people on the Spring Lake SID, some of the business owners, and what they told me was they started taking money and cleaning the streets with it. And everybody was happy, the sidewalks were cleaner. And then the town automatically assumed that the SID is always going to clean the streets. And it's like, no, I pay my taxes, it's supposed to be clean. The sidewalks are supposed to be cleaned with my taxes, not the SID money. So the SID actually started taking over responsibility that the town was doing it, and I was taking that money and using, spending it elsewhere. I was against this last year. If they would take the money out of the existing taxes that the property owners were paying, I would have no problem with this, but tax added on to the taxes they're already paying, I am against, so I'm voting no.
As member of the council years ago, I was asked to be the liaison with the BBP. I attend all the meetings, I listen to the ideas, I see the hundreds and hundreds of hours of support and time and dedication that they put into it. I see the ideas, I see the true budget that is needed to do what they would like to do and what's needed to improve the town. Not just that personally being involved in it, but I did take a step back and I did a lot of research on my own. I looked at different SIDs across the nation. I looked at research, I looked at statistics. And it was quoted in many of the different areas that, I will quote, special improvement district movement is one of the most important developments in local governance in the last, local governance in the last 2 decades. There's anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 now across the nation, and that number continues to grow. Statistically as well, it does say that it needs about 3 to 5 years to show true progress and overall improvement within a town. So I do see both sides. I see the statistics on it, and I see my personal involvement, I see what's in the town, I hear from all the business owners and how they feel. I see the improvements in what they've done, but I do believe that it is valuable. I do believe that it's effective. I do believe that it needs some time to grow even more. I think the budget being asked, $100,000 is a lot of money, but I think it's not, very nominal for what they're trying to accomplish, and I vote yes.
Excuse me, if you're personally involved, shouldn't you recuse yourself?
No,
from the vote?
no, you're not gonna shut up in the audience, thank you. Take a bathroom break. Usually I'm pretty sure how I'm gonna vote on something before we come in here. But this is one that I'm not sure, or I wasn't sure. Still not sure. I'm not sure. Either way, I mean, there are so many people I know and respect who are opposed to the SID. There are so many people I know and respect who are in favor of the SID. And I gotta be honest with you, they're all friends of mine, and they've lobbied me each way, and they've done a good job, both of them, on lobbying. I was one of the ones who thought it would be important to bring something like this to our town. We thought we would model after the Spring Lake Business Improvement District. I'm frustrated that more hasn't gotten done in the last 2 years. One of the things I always thought that the SID could do, still hasn't done, was actually attract businesses by subsidizing their rent. One of the things SIDs have the ability to do that we don't. Like Councilman Governor mentioned, we have the ability to pave roads and improve streetscape and change zoning. We have that ability. One of the things we don't have the ability to do is actually recruit businesses that would complement businesses in our town. So, one of the things I always thought, the idea of creating a SID was, see what kind of businesses out there we want here. I mean, I don't think we want another hair salon. I don't think we need another pizza place. But maybe there are some businesses that complement the ones that are currently existing. Maybe there's a mom somewhere who's baking something in her house, and it's someone like the SID that could go out and attract her and say, look, why don't you come to this storefront? We'll negotiate the rent. Maybe we'll incubate you for 2 years because her business of whatever it is, making cupcakes, actually really complements the retailer next to her. We can't do that. The governing bodies aren't allowed to do that, but the SID was, and it chose not to. I love Connie. Connie and I have had a on-again, off-again romantic relationship for a while, so I want to make sure she always loves me. And I honestly, I think the guys and the women on the SID, and I know Jennifer pours her heart into it, and she's done a lot of lobbying on his behalf as well. I'm going to go ahead and vote yes. We gotta move on. It's getting late. It's 9 o'clock. We get to go there. Next is first reading of ordinance 2013-8, ordinance amending supplementing chapter 19 of revised general ordinance for Belmar. It's for handicap space. Please, folks, back you down on the exit. I'll offer and move for its introduction.
If I had the idea, I'd be doing the business.
Yes.
Okay, and I had to, and looking to get into business.
Yes.
Yes.
Next is second reading, public hearing, ordinance 2013-7, ordinance of Borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, authorizing exemption from taxes under the 5-year exemption abatement law. This is for public hearing. Mr. Northridge, my vote is the council will pass. Folks, let's keep it down, please.
Hopefully I addressed all the questions last time I was here, but I'm here if there's additional questions from the council as to this ordinance.
Could you explain some of the changes you made that were not substantive, but were
Yes.
that we discussed?
The only change that was made was to make it clear.
No, it's my job.
That's right. It's these union rules that I'm just not used to. The only change we made was to make it clear that it was not just a, if you owned your property but rented it out, you would still, if you made improvements to the property, you could. You would still be eligible for the abatement.
Right, and I think one of the confusing, I don't want to say statements, but one of the confusing points was that the only person eligible for the abatement is the person that owns the property. So if Council President Dyke owns a property and I make an improvement to it, and I'm her tenant, I get no abatement whatsoever. She would get the abatement, which would only make sense intuitively anyway, because I don't pay taxes directly, I pay them to her. She could or could not, on her own volition, pass on whatever that, well, I guess it wouldn't be savings. But in other words, she would reap the benefit, not the person who actually made the improvement if they're not the owner of the property.
They're not paying the taxes, correct?
But as far as an owner-occupied property or a second home or an investment property, they would all be eligible.
Yes. And that's the change we made.
That was a change. Okay. Any questions from the council? Yeah, I was going to do that, but council questions?
Just scenario, electric went off because of the storm. They turned the electric back on with the storm. My top part caught on fire. We put it out. They came, they ripped it down, turned it into my insurance, storm insurance. I got a check for it. But because they made it nicer and bigger, doesn't my assessment go up?
No. It's a little, with the facts you've given me, it's a little hard to the whole thing, but here, let me, if I could, because I've been thinking a lot about this. You know, the mayor had asked me a question, Colleen asked me a question, I think you asked me a question last time, Councilman. And I think, I mean, and I hate to rely on personal experience to try and explain a legal principle, but I don't think there's any other way to do it. If you think about it, I tried to think about a time where I made an insurance claim where the insurance company paid me more than what I lost. That's the scenario you're talking about. If you have a $100,000 loss, first of all, the likelihood is the insurance company is not going to give you $100,000. They're going to give you 70. Even if you have replacement coverage by the time you're done arguing and all that. But even if they give you the 100, you're still at a net zero. You know, if you have a $100,000 loss, I don't know how when you rebuild with that 100,000, I don't know how your assessment could go up, and so therefore there's nothing to abate.
I guess what I'm asking is, I'm thinking I get a check for $10,000 from the insurance after the storm. It's not nearly what I want, but since I have to redo my whole downstairs, I'm going to make it bigger and better.
Absolutely, and that's eligible for an abatement.
But I got a $10,000 check from the insurance company.
No. What the ordinance talks about and what the statute talks about is the improvement you make. Just because you got a check from an insurance company for $50, $10,000, or $100,000, if you make a $300,000 improvement to your home and your taxes rise because you made an improvement, that's the purpose of the abatement ordinance. The whole purpose of it is to encourage your property owners, whether they're residents, investment people, whatever, to make investments in their property. Putting the 10 grand that the insurance company gave you back into your building isn't going to raise your assessment. It's not going to add value. You're not making an investment. But if you take that 10 grand and you leverage it and you add another 90 to it and you really improve your property, you have achieved the goal of the abatement ordinance, which is to cause you to invest in your property. And that is eligible for abatement. $1 of insurance doesn't spoil the $99,999 you've invested in the property.
I believe you, but I just read what the word said. That's why I wanted to just strike that part. And I mean, Mayor,
with all due respect, Councilman, I think it's
correct,
I think it's a entirely too rigid reading of what the.
I'll go on record and say that Bill Northgrave has a JD and knows this a lot better than anyone
And
else.
if somebody got a check, no matter for $1, for 10,000, and they improved their property with that money, they are still eligible. for
Absolutely,
this.
absolutely, yes. Because again, I'm not trying to argue with you. I understand your point, and I understand your concern about trying to be clear. But intellectually, just think through the purpose of it, and then also think through what an insurance company is going to do. An insurance company is not. If you've had a $100,000 loss and you get $100,000 back from them, you haven't improved the value of your property. Your tax assessor cannot go out and say, because I replaced that third floor that got blown off because of the storm, and it cost me $100K, my property's not going to improve in value. But if now that my third floor got knocked off, and now I'm going to add, whatever up there, I don't know, I can't imagine a scenario. I think it was a SID discussion, just kind of just filled my head with too many ideas. But I don't know what you can do, but if you're adding value, if you're making investment, that's, you have an eligibility for an assessment, and you only need the eligibility for the abatement. You only need the eligibility for that abatement because you've added value, whereas insurance just gets you back, hopefully, and I think a lot of your residents probably agree with me, that the insurance isn't going to give you back everything you lost, unfortunately. So that's really where it comes out, Councilman.
Well, if you don't mind, sitting right behind Colleen, we're going to, if there's any public discussion. Any other questions for this? No? Okay. Now, any public comments or questions just on this ordinance? Yes, sir.
Go, Gene.
Take your time, Jim.
Ordinance 2013-07.
Yes, sir.
My name is Gene Kramer, 4th Avenue. Well, in brief, the proposed ordinance 2013-07 would force Belmar property taxpayers to fund property tax exemptions for others. Is there any misunderstanding about that?
Yes. It doesn't fund anything.
Excuse me?
There's no funding mechanism.
There's no funding?
No, sir.
Tax exemptions do not require funding.
No, sir.
I beg to differ with you, Mayor. What you're saying, and what's the reason for taxing?
Well, no one's,
What's the basis for taxing?
what this does is it abates the increase in taxes. No one's taxes are going to go down because of this. So it's not if my taxes go down and your taxes go up, pay for my taxes go down. All it does is it abates the increase in taxes for people who make improvements to their property. There's no funding, there's no appropriation, or something like that. It doesn't affect the budget at all.
Okay. Mayor, the primary ingredient for a legitimate reason for taxing, for property taxes, is people. I have a house that apparently would be eligible according to this proposed ordinance. That's going to be more than doubled in size, being built directly across the street from me. Doubled in size, double bedrooms, double people, double students, double garbage. Current taxpayers are going to pay for those exemptions, aren't they? If their taxes are frozen, other taxpayers will pay for the exemption. Otherwise, you have no basis for collecting taxes, sir. You understand where I'm coming from?
I hate to say it, I really don't.
Municipal taxes are based by the number of people that you have in the town. Police force, public works.
Mayor, that's not true. Your municipal taxes are based on assessed values.
Assessed value of all the properties in town.
It's not the number of people in town. It's based on here in Jersey.
Oh, okay, let me rephrase that. tax expenses are generally based on people. Some places use bedrooms. New Jersey uses assessed values. It stands to reason. If a house has 2 bedrooms today, and it doubles in size and has 4 bedrooms, then it would have 4 people. When it used to put 1 can of garbage in the street to be picked up and disposed of, now it will have 2 cans of garbage. Same thing with police calls. That's the reason that when you have a bigger house, you pay more taxes, okay? This proposed ordinance would allow a house be built twice as big or 3 times as big and pay the same taxes. That increase or that exemption will be paid for by current taxpayers.
Gene, you're assuming that we cannot live within our budget and we automatically are going to have to raise our taxes.
Absolutely.
That's what you're assuming, though. But if we say, no, there's plenty of pork in this budget, we're going to take the chance and allow them to increase their...
Wait a minute. Are you saying that there's pork in the budget?
I always say there's pork in the budget.
Then why don't we work on that first before we start taxing people additionally to promote their neighbors building bigger houses? I'm just saying this sounds like a redistribution of wealth here. Is this what you're trying to accomplish here in a manner similar to the SID? We're going to pay for having a bigger house across the street? And more children in school? And no raising of, please, who's going to fund the exemption? Let me just ask you that question. Who's going to fund the exemption?
I explained to you before, there's no funding mechanism for it.
That's right, there is no funding mechanism other than Belmar property tax payers. Period. That's the only, we are the only people that you can impose an increase in taxes on. Okay? And that's it.
There hasn't been an increase in the last few years.
I understand, but you know, we've been borrowing money too. That's what you call credit card living, Mayor.
We've been borrowing money for capital expenses, not operating expenses.
Well, let's get to the document itself then, okay? Well, I read the document that was introduced at May 1st, 2013 meeting, and found the information at the ampersand symbol underlined -10D sufficiently significant to influence my acting in a certain way. Because the criteria of a redevelopment agreement is stupid. Not only that, the document, this is the only place in the document where there is any reference to a redevelopment agreement. Why is a redevelopment agreement necessary in an area in need of rehabilitation?
Mr. Northrup, you want to address that?
The law is written to, you have the same thing, we had the same debate when we did the adopting the rehab plan. People were saying, well, you can't do a redevelopment plan because that requires an area in need of redevelopment. The law addresses redevelopment agreements to cover, as it does redevelopment plans, to cover both redevelopment areas and rehabilitation areas. A redevelopment agreement is only required where there's new construction. The idea being that when you have an existing structure, a simple planning board approval, if it's necessary, is there. If it's a new structure, there'll be a lot more information the town can gather by doing a redevelopment agreement. And that's the purpose for using redevelopment agreement.
Thank you.
However, that's listed, this is one of the criteria that is necessary in an area in need of rehabilitation.
Right.
Absolutely.
In other words, a redevelopment agreement is necessary.
Yes.
Where's that defined?
these statutes.
Not in the definitions of what's in front of us tonight? I see there's a tax agreement definition here. What are the components of a redevelopment agreement?
Whatever. So that's a policy decision for the town as to what they want, what information you're going to require. Excuse me. Just sit and answer questions. But whatever information you would require to gather to determine what it is that's being put in, you can ask to be put in the redevelopment.
I think we used, our infrastructure was over 50, more than half of our infrastructure was over 50.
Well, that's for the designation of the redevelopment area. This gentleman is referring to what the criteria would be, what you would want to see in a redevelopment agreement. In a redevelopment area, the redevelopment agreements, as you've addressed before, tend to be rather extensive, depending upon the area. If you're dealing with a one building structure on a one single piece of property, it can be fairly simple and cover some, some very basic.
Anything else on there, Gene?
Yes, I do. Well, let's just get to the purpose and intent. The purpose of this is, it's been shown to be a 5-year tax exemption. Has been shown to be effective in areas threatened with economic and social decline. What are the threats? What are the identified economic and social decline threats that we are faced here in Belmar?
Jennifer, you want to explain those, that language?
It's the purpose for why you designated the area as a rehabilitation area. In the first place, where there is, it gives you the ability to encourage additional investment. And I was being facetious before when I discussed the SID, but perhaps it's pertinent now. What one of the presenters talked about was that you have a situation where you can either decline, remain where you are, or increase without adding my opinion as to whether a SID will allow you to increase an area. That was the point he was making. The idea with the rehabilitation area and the ability to offer abatements, as we discussed before Hurricane Sandy hit, this council is considering it because it would encourage additional investment. And that's the idea. An abatement, somebody may sit and say, the $100,000 improvement I'll make to my property, if I'm going to pay taxes on that immediately, perhaps I can't afford it. And it's a policy decision for you to decide that you want to encourage that additional $100,000 investment for several reasons, not the least of which is that it will eventually generate full taxes after the 5 years. But it also, and more importantly, says to your neighbors, as one of the people again in the SID discussion talked about, is that if someone else is making an investment in their property, rising tide raises all boats. Even if you don't make an investment in your property value may very well increase, and that's the policy decision that this council has made in making the rehabilitation area in the first instance.
And the social decline? What's our threat? Social decline.
It's the same thing, sir.
Has there been an increase in crime? Is there an increase in poverty in town? These would be social decline. What evidence do you have of social decline in Belmar? Now that the sky is falling here. You're really painting a picture, Mayor, here of economic and social decline. Is that what's happening in Belmar?
Well, you gotta understand that the only way we're able to provide a basic process like this is to follow the state statute.
I don't see any necessity for this, Mayor. There's been some reduction. There's been some reduction in the assessed value of the town. But quite truthfully, for everyone that I've seen an application in front of the land development boards for rebuilding and reconstructing.
And I appreciate your opinion that you're opposed to this.
Excuse me?
I said I appreciate your opinion that you're opposed to this.
I just don't see. I don't see any benefit of me and others other taxpayers paying for tax exemptions for others. Okay. I don't see the borough facing threats of economic and social decline. Maybe in the Inlet Terrace section, but not the rest of the town.
That's mostly social.
That's social decline. The other thing is here, this of course, I guess, development officer, borough does not have one of those. And so what would that cost? And the qualifications of that individual?
The whole concept of development officer is really just someone who's going, it could be the business administrator, it could be the borough clerk, it could be the mayor, it could be one of the members of the council, anyone you want to appoint to basically just oversee the process. That's the concept of development officer. You don't need to add any staff, you don't need to add salaries to administer the program.
In other words, in their spare time.
In my spare time, yes. Yeah,
Well,
if you have.
I'm glad that we have municipal employees, Mayor, that have spare time. Back, spare time, really?
You don't have spare time.
I didn't think so. So this means that this is going to be the hiring of another, building another
I'm
bureaucracy.
going to volunteer, Councilman Governor.
Like being in charge.
One of the qualifications here requires that the applicant must submit 2 proofs of owner occupancy. Such proofs can be driver's license, utility bill, real estate tax bill, or car registration. Proofs submitted must be current and valid at time of submission. None of those is proof of occupancy. None of them. Then I guess the people involved, getting back that everybody has spare time in our borough government. It looks like the procedure set up here would require sign off by the tax assessor, this so-called development officer, the borough attorney, the chief financial officer, the borough administrator, tax collector, borough clerk, all in their spare time. I do have a question about the role of the borough administrator here, though, Mayor Doherty. By what criteria would she be making a recommendation on this?
I think she doesn't have to sign off on all, she actually makes recommendations.
Did you read what it says in the proposed ordinance?
I haven't read it for a little while, I could ask Mr. Oakley to explain it better.
I'd be happy to address the question. I don't know what the question is, though.
What's your question? Your question is, how is the business administrator?
By what criteria would the borough administrator be making a recommendation?
Well, she makes a recommendation, but it's the fact of her position.
Where are we referring to the borough administrator needs to make a recommendation? I just need to give you this recommendation.
Oh my God, they don't even know this. It's unbelievable. I can't even find it. Did your son get that?
Borough administrator review.
If you could just direct me to section 30, I don't want
Why
to
doesn't
see.
he go to the
Amsterdam type symbol underline dash 12D.
It's a ministerial role. And actually, the mayor was addressing it without remembering the exact section. It's a ministerial role to make sure everything has all the appropriate sign-offs have been achieved, that the property is in fact eligible pursuant to the ordinance as attested to by the borough attorney, and any other issues that may arise, tax assessment, that type of thing.
In other words, it's procedural, right?
Basically,
Basically, procedure.
It's a quarterback. Everything comes back to the borough administrator just because
Right.
there is a central person to.
With her regard to her position.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, Gene has some very good points, but I think there's other people in the audience that are here very late, and it would be very disrespectful for them not to get a chance in public portion to get up and speak.
Gene, would you mind ceding the floor to some other folks?
Yeah. According to this, the borough administrator will recommend the denial of the application as not being in the best interest of the borough. So the borough administrator apparently is going to be making a decision as to whether it's in the best interest of the borough. I find that interesting that we're going to have people with apparently no particular qualifications, not even a resident of the borough. Everybody's got an opinion as to what would be best interest of the borough, don't they?
Yes.
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 Thank you, sir. Any other questions, comments on this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion.
I may hand up at the same time as Gene, remember?
Oh.
I'll be quick.
You're humble now.
They can't even answer your
It's
question.
not even We're gonna pay for it. As soon as I get the mic. Just one point of Gene's I wanted to, David Scheck, 302 C Street. Just one point of Gene's I wanted to address is about, that a bigger house will have more people living in it and such. And, I just want to point out that, the way taxes are collected, not just in the town, but, statewide and nationwide and everything else, there is a certain amount of socialism in it, and it can't be helped. We can't, really the fairest thing to do would be to have a tax by head count, right? Because the more number of people in a town, everybody contributes a certain amount of garbage and everything else. So really, if you want to be the most fair, you would have to pay, $2,000 per person per year or something like that to avoid completely having one person pay the expenses of another person. But we can't do that. I'm not advocating that.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying that, but that would be the way that everybody would pay exactly their fair share, pretty much. But anyway, just real quick, I don't understand legalese that well. I guess I'm gonna have to learn it soon. This law, this doesn't change the nature of the relationship of the power between like the planning board and the mayor and the zoning board or anything like that, right? In other words, the balance of power in determining, whether development can proceed or not proceed or what kind of development, that stays the same, right? This does nothing to affect anything like that. So there's nothing in here that's going to be a surprise to us, right? It's simply about the tax abatements, right? We're not going to hear a year from now, oh yeah, but the law said it, and we can, nothing like that. Tax abatements, that's it, right? Okay, thank you.
At our next meeting, we have an ordinance that gives all the power in town to me.
Just checking.
All right, well, let's close the public portion. I'll make a motion to public portion on ordinance 2013-7.
Second.
All right. I will offer a move for adoption. Ordinance 2013-7, the tax abatement.
I'll move it.
Second?
Councilwoman Decker?
Yes.
Councilman Goodwin?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolak?
Yes.
Yes. All right, folks. Come to that time. It's a late hour, but we could never close without a public session. So public session is very simple. You raise your hand, wait till you're called on.
Not yet, is it?
And yeah, I guess we're going to keep it at the 5 minutes. So, but it is late, so please be mindful of. Thank you, Mr. Northbury. Thank you for staying all that. Hold on 1 second. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Susan Seaman, 304 Northside Drive, Belmar. Mayor.
Help her with the mic.
That's fine. Great. Accolades. As a resident of Belmar, my My home faces the war zone, Silver Lake. And I hadn't lived there for several months, and I recently moved in. And I've been back and forth, but it's extremely dark. And now I see the lake has got a lot of algae on it. You know, I don't know what's being done about that. Maybe it already has been addressed. But as a result of the effects of Frankenstorm, it looks like hell. The whole area, the lake. Now we have a festival coming up, right? Seafood festival?
Yep.
Where's it gonna be?
It's gonna be at the same spot as always.
All right, what's gonna be done?
We have a
the looks of that.
landscaper that's gonna start working on Monday.
Are they gonna remove all that debris that
They're gonna.
DEP says is contaminated?
It's not.
It's not contaminated, it's not.
No, it's not.
No.
So these letters that went out
No, they did not say.
were
it.
misinformed?
They did not say it was.
If you
I didn't have a letter.
if you have a letter.
I don't have a letter.
Oh.
I never got a letter.
Okay.
But my neighbor had told me.
Well, if your
something
neighbor has a
about
letter,
that.
tell them to bring it to Colleen, and we'll address that, but it's not contaminated. But they should start on Monday, and we're spending a lot of money to fix up that lake, almost $500,000.
It needs it.
I'm not saying it doesn't, but it's a very big lake, it's a big project, and it'll get done. It's just taking a little bit of time.
Now, do I understand that the old light fixtures from the boardwalk are going elsewhere? I was thinking it'd be
Well, the
nice
one-
to have them around the lake.
The ones that we can salvage, we're gonna put at the marina, and the other ones, we put it out to bid for scrap.
Scrap. What a shame. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. What? Where'd you get?
Mike Campbell, 7th Ave, and also I work for the town. I just want to make one quick comment. There was an insinuation made today that our borough administrator, because she doesn't live in town, doesn't care about the town or wouldn't care about the town, doesn't have an invested interest in the town. I work with the lady 4 to 6 hours every day. I work with the lady on weekends. We talk at night, we text at night. Everything she does, she breathes Belmar. I've been here 50 years. She cares as much about the town as I do. I'm just telling you right now, it has nothing to do with her living out of town. She would love to live in town, I'm sure. She loves the community, she loves the people. She's good to the employees. I am completely trusting her love for the town. I don't think she's doing this for any other reason but to get our town back and then to run what we're hoping after September will be a normal town once we've done our rehab. But again, I'm just telling you, every day, she cares about our town. So I do take offense to that comment.
Yes, Pat?
Hi, good evening. I know it's late.
Name and address for the record.
Patty Kavanaugh, and I manage 1002 Main Street. I'd like to start out by saying that the boardwalk is coming along very nicely. It's doing a really fabulous job with that. And I'm here to discuss the plans, though, for the renovation that's taking place at 1006 Main Street. And I'm a little confused. I need your help, and I hope you can clear some things up for me. What is the intended use of that 1006 property?
Do we know?
We have not received any information as to what kind of tenants are going in that building yet.
And no one has to have any conversations with anyone with regards to that?
Officially?
Yeah, no one submitted permits or mercantile licenses to open any type of business in either one.
Okay. My understanding is that, and I'd like to make this crystal clear, transparent. This is not a sour grapes issue, but my understanding is that the tenants that are located at the 1002 property will be relocating to the 1006 property. That's kind of been told and made public. And I don't begrudge anyone of owning and operating a business. I, you know, wish for a vital downtown Belmar area, and it's a quality of life issue because I see what's transpiring there, and there's an entire backyard space that is going to have pavers, and they're, you know, I know that some people have seen that, and I just want to know when will the public be notified with what is going on there? When will they be given public notice?
How long in advance before, when the mercantile licenses?
You know, I mean, nobody would really know who's in there until they put up a sign and open up.
No, but they have to give us the information from the mercantile license.
Right, they would have to come in and any other permits if they need to do more
But
work.
they don't necessarily need to go before any planning board, zoning board, anything like that.
Not unless
Assuming
it was-
there's no changes to the zone, or unless they're doing some addition or something.
So I reached out to everyone on the town council, and it's been my understanding that the outside dining ordinance that was passed was written with the intent to allow sidewalk dining. Am I correct?
Well, that's primarily what we have in town, but we do have some dining behind buildings that it's also covered in our ordinance, correct, April?
Right.
And which buildings are those? Where it's-
Off the top of my head, 10th Avenue Burrito, the one that has inside, the new bigger place.
Well,
Those two.
those aren't behind the actual building. They're not like the backyard of the building. They're actually on the side lot of the building. I mean, it's considered to be a sidewalk or curb area.
I'm sorry, the old 10th Avenue Burrito, which,
Right. But when that was passed, it had to go before
planning board.
the planning board.
Correct. But
So-
after the change in ordinance, they would simply have to provide our building inspector with their layout, and the building inspector would approve it, he would approve the hours of operation, he would approve the occupancy level, correct?
Right.
So that's the person that's going to be left in charge of all of that, music, entertainment, capacity, garbage,
Capacity, garbage, egress.
parking.
I don't know if parking applies, but I don't know if they're in charge of parking.
Okay. So if there